True power lies in self-respect. A man who doesn't beg to stay shows confidence, sets boundaries, and controls his emotions. His absence creates value. His presence commands respect. He doesn't chase approval. He chooses alignment. Independence attracts. Desperation repels. Stand firm, stay composed, and let your worth speak for itself. Self-respect is not just a quality, it is a force. It is the invisible energy that radiates from a man who knows his worth, who understands that his presence is valuable, and who does not need validation from anyone to feel complete. A man with self-respect carries himself differently. His posture, his voice, the way he moves through life, all of it communicates a quiet confidence that is impossible to ignore. People are drawn to him, not because he demands attention, but because he commands it through his own awareness of his value. He does not beg for recognition or plead for someone to see him. Instead, he understands that recognition comes naturally when a person respects themselves first. This magnetic quality is not loud or brash. It is calm, steady, and undeniable. It is the difference between desperation and dignity, between someone who clings and someone who stands firm. A man who respects himself sets the tone for how others treat him. He does not allow disrespect or neglect to go unanswered, not through anger or aggression, but through boundaries that protect his integrity. He knows when to walk away, when to hold back, and when to invest his energy. This discernment is what makes him magnetic, because it shows others that he is not easily swayed, that he values his own peace and dignity above all. Self-respect also means being honest about what he wants and what he will accept. He does not compromise his values to please someone or to avoid conflict. His decisions are guided by a sense of self, not fear or insecurity. In relationships, this quality is transformative. Women, friends, colleagues, everyone can feel the difference between someone who respects themselves and someone who constantly seeks approval. A man who carries self-respect does not chase attention or affection. He offers it selectively to those who are aligned with his values, and in doing so, he elevates every connection he makes. The magnetic energy of self-respect also stems from inner peace. He is not ruled by emotions or reactions. He is grounded. He understands that his happiness, his worth, and his identity are not dependent on someone else's recognition. This inner stability is rare and alluring. It commands attention without demanding it. It draws respect, admiration, and even attraction naturally. A man who embodies self-respect does not beg to stay in someone's life. His presence is a gift, and his absence a reminder that he is not replaceable. This strength is silent but powerful. People notice it even if they cannot name it. They sense it in the way he speaks, the way he carries himself, and the way he treats both himself and others. Self-respect is magnetic because it communicates a truth that cannot be ignored. A man who values himself is a man who will not settle for less than he deserves, and the world feels compelled to acknowledge it. Being present without desperation is one of the most powerful qualities a man can possess. It is easy to confuse availability with weakness, but true presence is not about how often you are there. It is about the quality and intention behind your presence. A man who is truly present does not cling, does not plead, and does not beg for someone to stay in his life. He shows up because he wants to, because he chooses to, not because he fears losing someone or something. This distinction is subtle but transformative. Desperation, on the other hand, is loud. It is a low vibration that is immediately felt by everyone around you. When a man behaves desperately, he communicates insecurity, fear, and a lack of self-worth. People can sense it instinctively, and it pushes them away rather than drawing them closer. The man who masters presence over desperation understands that his value is inherent, and does not require constant affirmation from others. He moves through life with calm assurance, and this calm becomes a magnet. His energy communicates that he is enough, that his life does not depend on someone else's choices or approval. Presence over desperation also means emotional control. It is the ability to remain composed when others withdraw, when attention is diverted, or when challenges arise. A desperate man reacts, often in ways that diminish his power, pleading, over-explaining, or chasing. A man who embodies presence responds with quiet strength. He does not overreact. He does not try to manufacture connection. He allows space, knowing that meaningful bonds are created through alignment, not coercion. Another aspect of this power is patience. A man who prioritizes presence over desperation understands timing and rhythm in human connection. He knows when to step forward and when to step back. He does not force interactions or rush outcomes because he trusts that his value will be recognized naturally. He is confident in the flow of life, understanding that the right people and circumstances will align with him when the energy is authentic. Presence over desperation also transforms relationships. When a man is fully present without neediness, he creates a sense of safety and respect. Others feel his steadiness and are drawn to it. They are inspired by his ability to remain centered, even in uncertainty. This quality does not just affect romantic relationships. It permeates friendships, family dynamics, and professional interactions. People instinctively respect a man who shows up with integrity, consistency, and calm strength. In essence, being the man who is present without desperation is a declaration of self-worth. It says, I choose to be here because I value this connection, not because I'm afraid of losing it. It sets a standard for how others engage with him and creates a dynamic where respect, admiration, and even attraction emerge naturally. Presence over desperation is not about controlling outcomes. It is about controlling oneself. It is the mastery of patience, self-awareness, and emotional strength. And when a man embodies this power, he becomes unforgettable, not because he demands attention, but because he radiates a confidence and dignity that cannot be ignored. A man who understands the power of his absence wields a force that is often overlooked. Presence is easy to give. Everyone can show up. But absence, when used wisely, communicates value, strength, and self-respect in a way words never can. When a man doesn't cling, doesn't chase, and doesn't constantly seek validation, his absence becomes a silent reminder of what he brings into the lives of others. It creates space for reflection, for appreciation, and for recognition of his importance. Most people fail to recognize the value of someone until that person is not immediately available. A man who respects himself understands this instinctively. He knows that by constantly being at someone's disposal, he risks diluting his worth. If he is always present, always saying yes, always agreeing, people begin to take him for granted. But when he steps back, when he allows the space between interactions to exist, he suddenly becomes noticeable. His absence is not about punishment or manipulation. It is about maintaining integrity, setting boundaries, and showing that his energy is precious and not to be squandered. The absence of a man who knows his worth forces others to confront the reality of his value. They realize the energy, attention, and time he offers are not endless commodities to be consumed at will. They see that he has standards, that he will not compromise his dignity, and that his life does not revolve around their approval. In relationships, this is transformative. Women, friends, colleagues, they all sense when someone carries this kind of self-respect. They notice the difference between a man who is needy and a man who is steady. They are drawn to the latter because his absence makes them aware of what they truly gain when he chooses to be present. Absence also builds emotional strength. A man who is comfortable in his own company, who does not need constant attention or validation, demonstrates that he is complete on his own. This completeness is magnetic. People are naturally attracted to those who are self-sufficient because dependence often comes with drama, insecurity, and imbalance. A man who masters the art of absence does so not to create distance emotionally, but to honor his own life, priorities, and energy. He chooses when to engage and when to step back, and this selectivity elevates the quality of every interaction. Furthermore, absence creates anticipation. It allows relationships to breathe. It gives space for people to reflect, to miss, to appreciate, and to understand that not everything is guaranteed. When a man does not beg to stay, when he allows himself to be missed, his value increases exponentially. People learn to respect his time, his choices, and his presence. They begin to see him as someone rare, someone not easily replaced, someone whose worth is measured not by constant attention, but by deliberate, meaningful engagement. In life, this principle extends beyond relationships. In work, in friendships, and in every area where energy is exchanged, a man who understands the power of absence becomes influential without forcing it. His absence creates curiosity, admiration, and respect. It is quiet, deliberate, and profoundly magnetic. It is the hallmark of a man who knows that true value is not proven by how much he gives away, but by how wisely he invests his presence. Confidence is not something that can be borrowed, faked, or negotiated. It is the quiet, unwavering understanding of your own worth, your own capabilities, and your own place in the world. A man who carries true confidence does not need to prove himself to anyone because he knows who he is at his core. He does not rely on validation, approval, or attention from others to feel secure. Confidence is visible in every action, in every decision, and in every interaction. It is calm, steady, and magnetic, the kind of presence that draws people in without effort or coercion. A man who embodies confidence does not beg to stay in someone's life because he understands that his value is inherent, not dependent on another person's acceptance. He moves through life with purpose, making decisions from a place of strength rather than fear. And this decisiveness communicates a power that cannot be ignored. True confidence is also reflected in boundaries. A confident man knows what he will and will not tolerate, and he enforces these limits without aggression or guilt. He is not afraid to walk away from situations, relationships, or people that do not serve his highest good. This ability to choose rather than chase amplifies his value because it demonstrates self-respect and self-awareness. In relationships, confidence transforms dynamics completely. It removes neediness, desperation, and insecurity from the equation. A confident man does not over-explain his intentions, does not plead for attention, and does not react to uncertainty with panic. Instead, he responds with clarity, calmness, and authority. This energy is magnetic because it communicates certainty in himself, in his worth, and in his choices. Confidence also has a quiet humility. It is not loud or brash, and it does not seek to overshadow others. Instead, it inspires respect and admiration effortlessly. People are naturally drawn to confidence because it signals safety, stability, and reliability. They know that someone who is confident will not waver in moments of pressure, will not compromise their integrity, and will not bend to the whims of others. Another aspect of non-negotiable confidence is resilience. A confident man does not crumble in the face of rejection, failure, or challenge. He understands that these experiences are part of life and that his worth is not determined by temporary outcomes. He stands tall, adjusts, and moves forward with the same inner certainty that defines him. Moreover, confidence is not just internal, it is expressed externally. The way a man carries himself, speaks, and engages with the world communicates volumes before a single word is spoken. Confidence makes presence powerful, decisions respected, and actions influential. It is the difference between someone who is followed and someone who is ignored, between someone who is remembered and someone who is forgotten. Non-negotiable confidence is a man's strongest asset because it cannot be taken, stolen, or diminished by others. It allows him to navigate relationships, challenges, and life itself with authority, grace, and unwavering self-respect. A man who understands this lives on his own terms, draws people naturally, and stands as an unshakable force in any situation. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate. They are the framework that protects a man's energy, integrity, and self-respect. A man who understands the power of boundaries knows that giving freely of himself is not the same as giving indiscriminately. His time, attention, and emotions are valuable, and he does not allow anyone to take them for granted. Boundaries are a declaration of worth. They communicate without words that he will not tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or negligence. By defining what is acceptable and what is not, he ensures that his presence is honored and his value recognized. A man without boundaries often finds himself drained, frustrated, and unappreciated because he has no framework to protect his energy. He gives too much, often to people who do not deserve it, and he ends up compromising his integrity in an attempt to please or avoid conflict. Setting boundaries, however, is an act of strength, not ego. It requires self-awareness, courage, and clarity about what he deserves. A man with boundaries does not beg to stay in someone's life because he knows that relationships, whether romantic, personal, or professional, must be reciprocal and respectful. Boundaries are essential in communication as well. They allow him to speak his truth confidently without fear of judgment or rejection. When someone crosses a line, he does not react with desperation or panic. Instead, he enforces his limits calmly and decisively. This kind of consistency builds respect. People quickly learn that he is not someone to be taken lightly, and this alone elevates his presence. Boundaries also protect emotional energy. A man who knows his limits will not allow the negativity, insecurity, or drama of others to invade his inner world. He remains composed, grounded, and clear-headed because he has defined what he will carry and what he will not. This protects not only his peace of mind, but also his capacity to show up fully in meaningful ways when he chooses to. In relationships, boundaries are a form of self-care that strengthens connection rather than weakening it. They create clarity, reduce misunderstandings, and foster mutual respect. A woman, a friend, or a colleague can sense when a man respects himself enough to hold firm, and this often inspires them to rise to the same standard. Boundaries also teach discernment. They allow a man to distinguish between those who are aligned with his values and those who are not. He does not waste energy chasing approval from people who are unwilling or incapable of respecting his presence. Instead, he invests in connections that honor him, and in doing so, he attracts higher quality relationships. The power of boundaries is quiet but profound. It is not about controlling others or creating distance out of fear. It is about creating an environment where his energy, his values, and his dignity are protected, and where he can operate from a place of confidence, calm, and integrity. By setting and maintaining boundaries, a man communicates to the world that he is not available to everyone, only to those who align with his standards. This alone makes him magnetic, respected, and truly powerful. Freedom is one of the most magnetic qualities a man can embody, yet it is often misunderstood. It is not about recklessness, detachment, or avoiding responsibility. True freedom is the inner mastery to live life on one's own terms, to act from choice rather than compulsion, and to remain unshaken by external pressures. A man who is free is not tethered to approval, validation, or the expectations of others. He does not beg to stay in someone's life because he knows that his worth is independent of anyone else's recognition. This freedom communicates power in a way that is subtle yet undeniable. It allows a man to move through relationships and situations without neediness or desperation. He does not cling, he does not over-explain, and he does not attempt to control others. Instead, he navigates life with autonomy and purpose, making decisions aligned with his values and priorities. When someone meets a man who embodies freedom, they feel it immediately. His energy is not constricted, weighed down by fear, or desperate for acceptance. There is a lightness, a confidence, and an independence that is compelling. People are drawn to it, not because they can control it, but because it inspires them to step up, to value themselves, and to recognize the strength in someone who refuses to be bound by insecurity or need. Freedom also requires responsibility. A free man does not excuse chaos or disregard. He takes ownership of his actions, his commitments, and his energy. He chooses where to invest his time, whom to trust, and what battles to fight. In doing so, he demonstrates integrity, consistency, and self-mastery, qualities that are infinitely attractive. In relationships, freedom creates a dynamic that cannot be replicated by clinginess or dependence. A man who is free does not suffocate others with expectations or neediness. Instead, he allows space for mutual growth, exploration, and connection built on respect and choice. He is fully present when he chooses to be and absent when he needs to be, and in both cases, his decisions are deliberate, not reactive. Freedom also reflects emotional independence. A man who is free does not allow his happiness or stability to hinge on someone else's approval, mood, or presence. He experiences life fully on his own terms, and this autonomy inspires admiration. People sense that he is unshakable, that he is complete, and that he operates from a place of power rather than fear. Moreover, freedom amplifies value. When a man does not cling, does not plead, and does not compromise his standards, he becomes rare and irreplaceable. His presence is appreciated, his absence felt, and his choices respected. Freedom allows him to navigate the complexities of life with clarity, strength, and magnetic authority. It is not something that can be demanded or imitated. It is lived, embodied, and recognized. Ultimately, freedom is attractive because it signals self-respect, confidence, and mastery over one's own life. It is the silent yet powerful declaration that a man is whole on his own, and any connection he chooses to form is a result of alignment, not desperation. Emotional control is one of the defining qualities of a man who commands respect and exudes power. It is not about suppressing feelings or pretending to be unaffected. It is about mastering them, choosing responses over reactions, and remaining steady regardless of circumstances. A man who has emotional control understands that his energy is his most valuable asset. He does not allow anger, fear, or insecurity to dictate his actions, because he knows that reactive behavior diminishes his presence and undermines his value. Emotional control is particularly important in relationships. A man who loses himself in emotional turmoil, who pleads, chases, or becomes desperate, communicates weakness, even if he has immense internal strength. On the other hand, a man who maintains composure under pressure demonstrates maturity, stability, and reliability, qualities that draw respect and admiration naturally. This mastery over emotions does not make him cold or detached. It makes him deliberate and intentional. He chooses when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to wait, understanding that timing and clarity are far more powerful than impulsive reactions. Emotional control also signals self-respect. When a man does not allow his mood to be dictated by someone else's behavior, he communicates that his worth is not conditional. He does not beg to stay, does not overcompensate, and does not sacrifice his dignity for temporary approval or affection. People sense this strength instinctively. They know that he is steady, that his presence is a choice, and that any connection with him must be authentic. Furthermore, emotional control fosters resilience. A man who can manage his emotions can face rejection, criticism, or conflict without crumbling. He absorbs challenges without being consumed by them, learning from every situation without losing composure. This ability to remain grounded makes him a source of stability for others, and it naturally elevates his influence in every area of life, personal, professional, and social. Emotional control also enhances decision-making. A man who is ruled by emotions often makes choices that compromise his integrity or long-term goals. In contrast, a man who masters his feelings acts from clarity and wisdom. He is not swayed by temporary highs or lows. His actions are consistent with his values and objectives. In essence, emotional control is a form of freedom. It allows a man to engage fully with the world without being enslaved by its ups and downs. He can offer love, attention, and energy deliberately, not out of compulsion or fear of loss. This balance makes him magnetic, respected, and ultimately irreplaceable. When combined with self-respect, confidence, and boundaries, emotional control completes the picture of a man who does not beg to stay. His calm presence, steady responses, and deliberate actions communicate that he is not desperate, not insecure, and not easily shaken. People are drawn to him naturally, not because he demands it, but because his inner strength and composure resonate with a universal sense of trust, admiration, and quiet authority. Emotional control is the silent power that ensures a man's presence is commanding, his choices deliberate, and his life aligned with his highest values. Every man has a fundamental truth that too few fully embrace. The choice is always yours. No matter the circumstances, no matter the people around you, your actions, your presence, and your energy are your responsibility. A man who understands this never finds himself begging to stay in someone's life because he recognizes that staying is always a decision he consciously makes, not a demand from others. This awareness is liberating. It frees him from the trap of desperation, from the need to chase approval, and from the anxiety of uncertainty. When a man knows that the choice is his, he moves through life with a sense of authority and self-possession that is magnetic. He does not react impulsively to others' behavior. If someone distances themselves or acts coldly, he does not panic. He does not overcompensate, plead, or attempt to manipulate the situation. Instead, he evaluates his own desires, boundaries, and values, and makes a deliberate choice about how to respond. This clarity of agency is rare and powerful because it communicates self-respect without words. People sense that a man who understands his own choice is unshakable, and this naturally draws admiration and alignment from those around him. The choice is always yours also means accountability. A man who claims his power does not blame others for his feelings, reactions, or circumstances. He does not say, if only she, or if only they, because he knows that the outcome of any interaction is shaped by how he chooses to engage. This accountability reinforces his integrity. It ensures that he acts in ways consistent with his values, not out of fear, need, or external pressure. In relationships, this principle transforms dynamics completely. A man who knows the choices his approaches connections with confidence, clarity, and calm. He does not cling to someone who does not align with his standards. He chooses when to invest, when to step back, and when to let go. This deliberate approach ensures that he is always in control of his energy and his life, rather than being controlled by others' moods or actions. Furthermore, understanding that the choice is always yours empowers a man to maintain his freedom. He recognizes that he is not dependent on anyone's approval or presence to feel complete. His happiness, peace, and self-worth are internal, cultivated, and maintained by his own actions and decisions. This independence is magnetic because it signals strength, stability, and authenticity. The people who truly belong in his life will respect, honor, and align with him voluntarily, not out of obligation or manipulation. Finally, embracing that the choice is always yours cultivates patience and discernment. He does not settle for less than he deserves. He does not react to insecurity with panic, and he does not compromise his values to maintain temporary connections. Every decision is deliberate, every interaction intentional, and every relationship aligned with his highest standards. In essence, claiming the power of choice ensures that a man's life is his own, his presence is respected, and his energy is protected. It is the ultimate expression of self-respect, independence, and magnetic authority, a principle that guarantees he will never need to beg to stay, because he already stands firm as the master of his own destiny. In the end, the power of a man who doesn't beg to stay lies not in force, persuasion, or pleading. It lies in self-respect, confidence, and unwavering presence. He understands his worth, sets boundaries, masters his emotions, and embraces the freedom to choose. His absence creates value, his presence commands attention, and every connection he forms is deliberate, authentic, and aligned. He does not chase approval because he knows it is not needed. He does not compromise integrity for temporary gain. By living on his own terms, he becomes magnetic, respected, and irreplaceable. The lesson is clear. Strength is quiet, power is steady, and dignity is unshakable. When a man embodies these truths, he does not beg to stay, because those who matter will naturally honor, appreciate, and align with him, and in doing so, he becomes a man whose presence alone speaks volumes.